There you go. Andrew, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Awesome. Andrew, welcome to Project VealPod, man. It's always an honor to have somebody up to your status to come in here and do me a favor by doing this interview, man. I really appreciate it, man. Happy to have you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, man.
No, thank you for coming on, Andrew. Like seriously. But yeah, funny thing enough, before we kick off this discussion, I there's a question in my mind that I've always been wanting to ask you. Because I noticed that you have a guitar in the background. You usually had that for a good while for a lot of your videos. And
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, like, do you actually play guitar or is that just for show? Are you just being a poser?
I do. I do play. Yeah.
You do?
I
No
do.
kidding.
Yep.
Oh, no shit. Are you a shredder?
I am. Yeah. Metal. 100%
Metalhead.
metal. Yeah.
No kidding. I wouldn't have guessed that. And it's funny too, because when I first caught you on obviously pretty sure the vast majority of your chat can relate to this, is that they first saw you on the Whatever podcast. And I remember you were on that podcast with a obese red dragon with red lipstick on her face that said that she was like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, the chick had probably eaten 8 out of 10 of the hamburgers that were on the table. That's what I remember. So
yeah, no shit, man. But that was the very first time. And I remember I did a reaction to that. I didn't even know your name at the time. And then I started checking out your shit because you were going on there and just totally just intellectually piping down these chicks. And I was just like, who the fuck is this guy? So I learned a little bit about your channel. I think I subscribed around 20K, and definitely fucking awesome. Now goes back to what I was going to say. Recently, you went on this kind of podcast tour with Fresh and Fit and the Whatever podcast. And it seems like you're pretty good at making enemies, or at least people that really fucking hate you, Andrew. And
yeah, well, this is the way it is. If you're effective inside of this space, you get a lot of enemies very quickly. But so the way that I've explained this in the past, and I'll explain it to you the same way. At a certain point, a personality can become an industry unto themselves. You take a look at guys like Fuentes, for instance. He's an industry. Destiny is an industry. These aren't just personalities anymore that are on the internet. There's entire industries and orbiters and economies that spring up around these people. If you look at Fresh and Fifth, Whatever podcast, they're actual economies. And what I mean by this is there's hundreds of orbiters around Whatever podcast who spend all day long reviewing Whatever podcast content, and they make money from just reviewing the content that these other people do. So knowing that that's true, knowing that these people become industries unto themselves, there's also the counter to that, which is a hate industry. So the hate them industry also does the exact same thing, utilizes their content in order to basically, push back at them or go after them in some way because there's money involved in it. So that's what happens with personalities in this space when they get to a certain level. Right. They become an industry unto themselves, and that's why you see that effect happening. There's actually money in hating me.
Yeah, no kidding. So they can actually make money off of literally hating you.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, but it's crazy to me because that guy that attacked you, the one that was in the white pants, I don't.
Wes?
Wes, is that his name? He didn't even know who the fuck you were when you were on that stage.
Do you believe that?
Well, that's what he was saying, but I'm wondering, did he like tell you anything in the backstage that you might have said something to piss him off to react in such a fucking feminine?
No, we didn't even talk to him backstage. So we weren't really sure what the content of that whole panel was going to be. We weren't exactly sure because Myron and Walter had kind of been working on that format. I think that they themselves weren't exactly sure how they wanted to present it, if it was going to be almost like a live Fresh and Fit episode, even with after hours with the girls, or if it was going to be something else. We weren't exactly sure. So me and Jim Bob went in kind of prepared for anything, except that. The one thing we were not prepared for was like a panel on success and how to be successful in life. Instead, when that happened, this guy really got triggered out of his mind because we had an anti-materialist message rather than a drive your Bugatti and
Right.
go out there and try to get you the chick with the fake boobs and the fake ass and all that shit, right? That pissed him off because that's what he's selling. You understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah,
So because
definitely.
that's what he's selling, we were essentially undermining his sales trip, right? That's a sales trip for him. He's looking at the audience as a bunch of potential buyers for his product. And we were undermining that product. Now, we weren't intentionally doing that. We weren't like targeting him to undermine the product. We were just giving a different message for what we consider success to be. But from his perspective, he thought we were undermining his product. And so that's why he went fucking ballistic.
No shit. And that's because I remember you asking him, like, what's his name? West. Do you have a family? Would you put your children above the materialistics that you preach? He didn't even answer the question. He just went even more berserk on that.
Right. Well,
And
that's interesting because, if you look at the birth rate crisis in the United States, actually it's people who don't have a lot of money who are having all the children.
definitely.
Right. And so it seems like they must value something other than money and flashy cars and things like this, right? They must be valuing something different than that. And so that's why I asked him the question, like, don't you value these other things more than this? I don't care if a person gets rich, right? More power to them. I don't care if they end up with a lot of money. I don't care if they, work on their body for health purposes and they get shredded and ripped and all that. That's totally up to you. And I highly encourage it. Like, go get rich. But just understand that is you're conflating means and ends. And so that can't be the end. The end can't just be wealth for wealth's sake, right? So the means have to move to some kind of end that's worth something. And we couldn't really get into the materialist debate with the guy because he was just too busy freaking out.
Yeah, no, definitely. So here's another question when it comes to especially this guy West and several of the Bugattis, etc. Why do you think young men or people in general kind of look up to these guys who basically look at strength as like materialism? Like what's the main reason why? Is it a psychological thing? Why young men are so attracted to that?
Most of these guys fit a very similar profile, which is that they grew up oftentimes in single mother households. They didn't have a strong positive male influence in their life. This is not always the case, but I'm just giving you kind of a general outline for the profile that I see more than anything. And what happens is I feel really bad for them because they become targets, right? They become essentially what I would call a grift target. So what happens is, and you see this with all these videos of like the boot camps, the men's boot camps where you can go and they'll scream at you. They're going to show you how to be a man, right?
Yeah.
But they see him as a wallet. They see him as a target, an easy target wallet. And so, if you take my course for, and it always kind of follows the same format. Take my 15-minute course or 20 minutes in this free phone call, this free consultation, and then we'll move you to the lowest tier package for $109.95 per month. And then the whole point of that package, the $109.95 per month, is to move you into the $500 package. And the point of that package is to move you into the $10,000 package. Yeah. The point, you know what I mean? And it's ongoing and et cetera, et cetera. It's basically a scumbag version of multi-tier marketing, which is using hyper-specific targeting in order to essentially victimize young men. And so, of course, us having an opposition message to this and saying, no, I don't think that that's a good idea. And I think instead we should look at maybe a more anti-material based message. And that if we're going to be inside of these leadership roles, it shouldn't be to just have access to people's wallets. I don't think that that's the best idea. So I see this happen all the time inside of that kind of manosphere space. There's actually nothing wrong if somebody has something very useful that they want to package and sell. That's very, very important for people to buy. I say more power to you. Great, go do it. But that's really not what's going on here in a lot of cases.
Yeah. Wouldn't you see like somebody like Rollo Tomasi, who talks a lot about like the scriptures, the evolution of psychology, I guess, of that, would be packaging it in a very different way. I guess what you call the red pill. than
Yeah,
somebody
well,
like Wes?
so if you look at guys like Tomasi,
Yeah.
they're more on the academic side of things. So they have books that they'll sell you and things like that, but they're not really running these kind of consultation courses, which are designed to get you to be able to make $93,000 a month.
Yeah.
And here's all the success stories, right?
Right.
This is very old trap 1980s style marketing, right? Almost the 1980s business scumbag marketer
Snake
who does
oils.
the exactly, does the
Yeah.
multi-tier thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's unfortunate. But when you put those guys to the question, of course, they freak the fuck out because they can't really justify why they're telling people to do what they're doing. And you know, kind of once a con, always a con, right? This guy was in prison forever. It does not surprise me that
He was
you
raped in
know,
prison, according to
yeah,
you.
yeah, that he came up with possibly a con job where he knew he could target this demographic
Yeah.
and basically take advantage of them. But that's how I see it.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Not only did you piss off like these this manosphere, specific manosphere guy, when you were over there on that podcast tour, you also pissed off some feminist right-wing MAGA chicks that literally made a video about you. One of them literally said that being on that podcast, that she's never been in an abusive relationship, but being on that podcast with you, she knew how it felt to be in a abusive relationship. I mean, this is absolutely crazy talk, bro. And these are MAGA chicks, right? They promote that stuff, and of course they have a branding themselves. But my question is that if they are truly like right wing, they believe in the patriarchy. Why is it that when you addressed them on the way they think of things, why did they go out and lash out on you? They agreed with the vast majority of the shit that you were saying on that podcast.
Because what was going on there in that specific situation is those women were basically going on tour for their clothing brand. They were selling something. And part of that tour was they had gone and met with Trump and had been pulled up on the stage. And so they were doing a media blitz. And part of that media blitz was to go on whatever podcast. And then they would clip all that up and, you know, use that as part of their sales pitch for their clothing line. And what happened instead is they met a spoiler. So they were expecting to have their asses kissed, whereas instead we ended up in kind of these micro arguments. However, they weren't really big deal arguments. I didn't feel like I was particularly hard on them at all. And their big ones came in because they were trying to tell these kind of these stories about how, you know, the overly emotional tales of, well, I had an abortion and then that's just how I came to Christ. And they're trying. So this type of tale, this type of what is called Christian grift testimonials is designed to bring in a certain demographic and audience who says, oh, you go girl. Thank you so much for this testimonial, blah, 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 blah. And it works to a degree for some of these people. For them, I don't even think that they're doing that well inside of that sphere, but still, that was what the plan was. Well, by the next day, when they realized that, hey, they couldn't use this for any sort of kind of pro marketing for their product, they had to find some scapegoats. And so then it became, I was abusive. We were deprived of food and water and sleep, and we were essentially prisoners inside of the studio. And we were terrified. We were shaking in our boots. And if you watch the episode, they were more horrible to the women than I was. And these are the women who they claim need to be protected from the podcast, which is interesting because it's almost like saying the podcast needs to not allow people like them on in order to protect women from people like them. It's a very bizarre, standard. So, absent having anything like that, essentially all of them do the same thing, and they go through the politics of personal destruction. So they'll try to put out misinformation, or they go to collect whatever tidbits your haters have put out about you, and then they try to drive those points home as a form of attack. It's very much a low tier attack, though, and you become subject to what I call the law of diminishing returns, which is if you only harp on whatever in Andrew Wilson, there's only so much that you can put out there because people already know everything about me for the most part, as far as they know. And so every time you do a new episode going, oh my God, these people are horrible, the returns begin to diminish because people become bored of it. They become fucking bored. You know what I mean? They're sick of it. So it's not really a good strategy, even a marketing strategy from them. So we knew almost immediately I was going to do the one trash talk and expose all of it, which I did. But then there was no point in giving them any more attention of any kind, because that's essentially what they want, right?
Yeah. No, not only that, Andrew, what's her name? Lindsey Graham, right? She's the MAGA Barbie. She's still talking shit about you, like on Instagram. I think yesterday she posted another shit talking on you, and it had to do with that podcast where she agreed with it, but she had a problem with the thumbnail. Another thing that I noticed when it comes to a lot of these Christian, I guess, women.
Well, what's hilarious about this is, so I have a guy who runs clips. I don't really pay much attention to it, as I have a slew of other things that I have to do. So the clips guy takes care of everything. And of course, part of putting out clips is he goes back through content. He's going to put the most provocative title on it, the thing that catches the algorithm the best, so that it can get the most views, because that's how he makes his money. You know what I mean? Or at least a portion of it. So what I think happened in that case was he put out the clip. I had nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? He puts the provocative title on it, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. And she sees
it. Yeah, she sees it and sees it as a form of attack, but I don't even think about these women. You know what I mean? But I'm keeping a lot of space inside of their head. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you're living rent free over there, Andrew. Totally. That's one thing that I can definitely respect about you, is that you really do trigger a lot of these liberals, and I guess if you want to call these feminist right-wing women. But funny thing is that another criticism that you get from, especially from these Christian women, is that you say a lot of bad words, Andrew, and also you smoke, right? And it's funny because,
well, don't forget that I smoke. I also drink. I'm drinking. I'm having a vodka and soda right now as we speak. In fact,
nice. Yeah. I'm actually having a Miller Lite right now. I
used
to drink Budlight. Yeah, I used to drink Budlight.
Yeah, but you got rid of it, right?
I got rid of that shit. Yeah, obviously. You already know why.
Good.
You already know why, bro. And it's funny because I did a video reacting to like the Matt Walsh his take on the anti-Semitic bill or whatever. And funny thing is, I got some criticism on the comment section saying that, hey, bro, you say the F word a little too much, right? And one commenter said this, and I wanted to kind of get your reaction on that, especially from a Christian's perspective. And he goes on, he said this, dude, why do you say the F word so much? If you're Christian, which, by the way, I never mentioned I was a Christian in that video, but if you're Christian, you should know that the F word is a mortal sin against God. How about using the word bastard instead of that word? It is okay to use according to God. Anytime we use any sexual organ or sexual act as a curse word, it is a moral sin against God. Besides that, it's offensive. What would you say to that guy?
Fuck you. That's what I would say to that guy. The thing is so people often come up with headcanon, and this is what I call feminist Christianity. It's probably good, generally speaking, not to use vulgar language, but that's because it gives probably more appeal to certain types of messengers and messaging.
Right.
The truth is, though, is that words are often associated with cultural norms, not with things which are offensive. So, like, I give a person a list. I'd say, okay, all these words, which mean maybe rock, maybe the word rock in an African language can be a cultural taboo, and they consider it like the word fuck for us, right?
Okay.
We don't know why, but they do. Somehow it's considered a vulgarity to them. But if you go there and you say the word rock, you don't consider it vulgar, right? You're like, what do you mean? It's a rock. Who gives a shit? Well, that's the lens. That's a cultural lens that you're looking through. So the language is informed by cultural taboos. The blaspheming and cursing have a completely different meaning. Blaspheming is designed around giving offense to God directly and his messaging. And when you're talking about cursing, that's actual curses. You're putting a curse on somebody in the name of God, or you're putting a curse on someone. Cursing itself, or swearing, these things are often associative, but really it's just vulgar language. Who gives a shit?
So you said cursing, literally cursing is literally putting on a curse on somebody?
To put a curse on a person, correct. Yeah.
Right, yeah, no shit. But why do they inflate that with like cussing,
because that's like what their mamas taught them.
Okay, there you
Because
go.
that's
There you
what
go.
because that's what Grandmammy said. And Grandmammy said God doesn't want you to say the shit word because it's vulgar and it hurts my poor ears. It literally the word shit can be and ass can be multi-purpose. You know what I mean? Get your
Right.
ass off the couch. Is that really referencing a sex organ? Because I don't think it is. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
So this is problematic. There's all sorts of things inside of the Bible which are highly insulting for the time. Calling somebody a viper
Okay.
essentially is similar to calling him a piece of shit in that time era. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Or a
And
harlot.
yeah, harlot is calling them a prostitute, right?
Prostitute. Yeah. Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
thing is that these people they make up headcanon as they go. Now, is it good if you're out and you're a representative of the church, just like if you're out
Right.
representing any organization for you to use vulgar language inside of that community? Yeah, probably not. But is it a mortal sin? Well, now that's fucking insane. Is it even a sin at all? No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. I get you right there. You know, it's funny because I also wanted to bring up one of my favorite clips that you have over there on that channel is you were on a debate panel with the Coomer Gremlin, Destiny, as you like to call him, the Coomer
Yeah, the
Gremlin.
blue-haired Krumer Gremlin.
Yeah, that's a fucking great. That's a great ass insult, to be honest. But in there, you asked Destiny straight up, bro, did you fuck Lauren Southern?
Southern.
Yeah, did you fuck her? And it's funny because the chick, I think I don't know what her fucking name was, but she was
Her
saying
name is Not So Bright.
not so bright, dude.
Yeah.
This chick was saying that apparently she's banged like Andrew Tate, Myron Gaines, Destiny, Tim Pool. And you were on there with Alex from Playing with Fire. He makes a stupid comment saying that he's triggered because he's not on that list. I thought that was kind of funny, but nevertheless, like there's rumors, I guess, that show that I guess she had an abortion from Destiny or something like that. And
No, that was an op which was orchestrated by Lauren Southern and one of her friends. And what they did was they went and got legitimate medical paperwork, filled it out, and then
was that
began.
Brittany Grenner or Brittany? Not Brittany Grenner.
Is
Brittany
Venti. Yeah.
Venti.
And
That
so
chick.
what they did was they took those that real paperwork, filled it out, and began to email Rollo Tomasi as impersonating, Lauren's ex-husband or whatever. And they essentially set him up. And
Really?
so, yeah, so that's what happened. So he was running with that story. He thought he was in contact with the ex-husband and they were actually trolling him. And they went so far as to go and get medical paperwork, fill it out and send it to him and all sorts of different things. So that whole thing was a fraud, but it was also an obfuscation as Southern does not want her reputation tied in with the fact that she is perhaps one of many who has ended up on the opposite end of the Coomer Gremlin and his casting couch, right?
Yeah, no kidding. But it's funny. I also wanted to ask you this question. It might be a little bit controversy. Well, probably not, but because I brought up the abortion thing. And I did a video on my channel about Vivek Ramaswamy saying that he wanted to pass some kind of legislation that will give women support, not only just child support, but you have to pay for the woman's lifestyle for 18 years as well. And I thought that was a stupid take or whatever. But in there, I had mentioned this, and I wanted to ask you, if a woman has an abortion, do you believe that she should be trialed for like first-degree murder? Because technically, by definition, she's hiring a hitman to get rid of the child. What would be your take on that?
Well, murder requires intent.
Right.
And so I want you to try to think of this from two prisms, because the easy answer is to say yes, right? But think of it from the opposite side of the coin. Assume for a second you were with or somebody is really low IQ, right? And they go into like their dad's bedroom with a knife and they stab him and he dies. Okay. And with the cops get there and they're like, no, he's going to wake up soon. Right. They clearly don't understand that they have murdered somebody. Right.
Yeah.
Would you give them the same penalty that you would give a normal murderer?
Even though they didn't know that they murdered
Even
that
though
person?
they yeah.
Not first degree, I don't think, but definitely you would give a penalty out. Yeah.
You would give some kind of penalty, but
yeah.
would you wouldn't necessarily give them a first degree murder charge, right?
Well, there was intent, yes. but
but the intent wasn't to murder because they
wasn't to
don't really
murder. Yeah.
understand that that's what's going
So
on.
yeah, not first degree. No.
Yeah. So if you make this a law inside of society for 50 plus years,
Mhm.
that these women are allowed to do this kind of at their whim, and they're told over and over and over that this is not murder, that they're not doing anything wrong, this is just a clump of cells, this type of thing, then I think you do have to take the indoctrination into account, because the intent isn't necessarily there. Do I think that there should be a penalty? It's like, for instance, if we outlawed it and said, no, this is murder, and then they violated it, yeah, you throw them in prison forever.
Right.
But I think to retroactively, for instance, go back and try to enforce that would be kind of a ghoulish nightmare. As in this particular case, society has reinforced that that is not the case. So it's kind of complex on that front. It's not such an easy answer.
And definitely, if Republicans tried to push that outlook, I don't think it would end very well, especially getting the woman vote at all. But speaking of that, you've mentioned in the past that you're totally for repealing the 19th. Is that true? Right?
Yeah. Well, so it's actually a more across the board stance.
Okay, because like I'm thinking if you do that,
I think that voting should be tied into some kind of merit-based system rather than just a specific system for men only. So I would go maybe the service route. I think that might be a better one. You give up X amount of years to service to the nation, and then you'll be allowed to vote. There's all sorts of different ones which are proposed, net tax in, a single household being able to vote. I think at the very bare minimum, you should at least be married and have children in order to vote, because then you have stake in the game. It's hard to say because this conversation is kind of brand new if you're talking about the actual reforms that you would implement. But the 19th would definitely have to go if such a system was implemented.
Yeah.
But most voting rights would. I don't think that everybody should have the right to vote, as that leads to terrifically bad outcomes for society.
Yeah, no, 100%. I get you there. And it's funny because you also had mentioned about like the workforce, etc. And I totally get you there. Now, women tend to have this whole theory that if men disappeared tomorrow, women can handle themselves, right, etc. And obviously, with us men, if women disappeared tomorrow, I mean, it's just a matter of time before we just can't reproduce. Why is it that a lot of these ladies tend to have this ideology of I don't need no man at all, but at the same time they're not looked at equally under the law? Like when it comes to divorce laws, when it comes to that, they don't have any problem with that at all. Like, can we make an argument to convince them that, hey, how about we put women equal under the law, and then perhaps maybe they can come to their senses, just similar to like the sports men in sports, women's sports. Now all of a sudden they're crying to get them out.
Well, I want to make sure I get this right. Make sure I understand your question. Is your question asking, shouldn't we move towards egalitarianism so they see how bad it is? Or I'm not sure what you're asking.
Yeah, that would be my question. Wouldn't you say that under the law, to have actual equal under the law, and would that persuade women to go back to a less gynocentric law base?
Isn't that what we have now?
You mean under the law? No, I mean, we do, but you know that they're not treated under the law.
You mean, okay, so what like you're asking is,
for example, divorce
what
laws,
what if they were treated the same as men, would there be reforms?
Yeah, like taking out the doctrine of tender years doctrine. Like, for example, like doing equal custody off the bat of divorce. That would be an example of making things equal.
No, that would not solve the problem at all. You have a different way of viewing the world. Men and women have a different viewpoint for how they even look at the things that are around them. For instance, you can be with men and you'd be walking through a building, and I'm guilty of doing this myself. I'll stop and I'll look at possibly the way that that the lights in a store are set up, and I'll be like, huh, I would have configured that differently. Or I'll sit in a restaurant and I literally in my head see wires moving through the room, right? This is kind of an unconscious thing, but basically what I'm doing is I'm looking at how stuff is operating and how it works, and I can't help but notice it and think about it. Women really don't think that way. To them, chocolate milk comes from brown cows, and to them, when it comes to logistics for grocery stores, for fast food, for all the various conveniences, Starbucks, the fuel at the gas station, all these types of things, for the most part, they have absolutely no clue how those things actually get into their possessions. They only know that they do. So when they're asked these questions, they look at all this infrastructure and everything else as being part of a magical system where some type of magical being came down and snapped their hand and all this shit just appeared. If they were to, and the ones who do, the ones who actually look at the complexity of it, go, holy shit, how this is even possible is insanity. But if more women would take the time to actually think about that, far less of them would ever say anything bad about men ever again. But they've never had to work any of these types of jobs, nor do any of this type of handling. The ones that have a much healthier respect for men in general.
Oh, right on, right on. And I actually I want to ask you a question. One of my I guess guys that are on my channel, his name's Damon. He was stating about, or we were talking about your take when it came to secular marriage. His argument was basically saying that like usually when people, even though they're not, it's secular or whatever, they do have some kind of church influence or religious influence. Wouldn't you say even that type of marriage could lead to later a religious marriage or being more under God?
Yeah, the problem with the multitudes of these arguments are, sure, a secular marriage could lead to Christianity, but no secular marriage could also just as easily lead to Christianity. It's very difficult for me to make the determination that just because somebody makes the declaration, I am married, therefore I am, that should be recognized as something something greater than just a baseline declaration, as that person could then also say, I am no longer married because I am no longer married. So you're basing everything around self-ID, and essentially the act itself loses all value. I believe, and I get shit from my own side, even within the Orthodox sphere for this, but I think that pushing society towards secular marriage, especially the type we have with the state currently, actually leads to greater forms of sin. It does not seem to have the result of reflecting Christian marriage and therefore leading more people to Christianity. It does not seem to be doing that. It seems to do the opposite of that. So I would not recommend that people get involved in a state marriage at all. It does not seem to be particularly helpful to men, destroys entire families, and it assists, I think, with the atheist factory, because then you have single parents raising children outside the dynamic of the church. I think that's mostly leading to horrid outcomes, not good outcomes, at least from our worldview.
Yeah, I get you there. Which, by the way, Andrew, I remember, excuse me, I remember listening to a debate that you had. I think it was on Alex's On Fire or whatever. And I remember they asked you a question about how long you've been a Christian, and you had stated about a few years. And that tells me, so your upbringing, you weren't actually a Christian.
No, I was brought up as a Christian, yes, but the distinction that I was making, I don't believe that I had encountered the fullness of the faith until I became an Orthodox inquirer, which was
how old were you at the time?
This was about 3.5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
When I began to inquire into Orthodoxy. So then I was a catechumen for roughly 3 years or so before I was accepted into the church. There's a long waiting process. And there's a reason for that. They don't just let anybody in. So anyway, it's not that I wasn't a Christian, nor do I think that just because you're a Protestant, you're not a Christian, nor do I think that just because you're a Catholic, you're not a Christian. We just make the claim that we don't think you have the fullness of the faith, and that can lead to all sorts of problems for your spiritual health. So the distinction I was making with Alex PWF is I didn't really know what I didn't know, right? So I wouldn't have considered myself as to what I was to be a real active Christian, at least by my metric today.
Okay, I get you. I get you. And it's funny, Andrew, because you tend to, because I would describe myself as a Protestant. I don't belong to any type of church or anything like that. But I guess listening to you, and I think a lot of people in your chat can relate to that. It seems like you're kind of converting a lot of people into kind of giving orthodoxy a chance on that. So, like for example, with me, the closest Orthodox church where I live is about an hour away. I will be making the effort to kind of go over there at least once or twice a month if I can, to do that. But the thing is that, for example, Andrew Tate, I want to bring this up. Andrew Tate converted to the Muslim religion. And of course, he has huge influence on that, similar to you. And I kind of feel like there was a lot of young men converting themselves into that Muslim aspect because he called Christianity weak. And so there's two questions. What's your take on Andrew Tate's take on Christianity being weak, especially because we have a lot of these LGBTQ flags at churches, the drag queen. It seems like they're accepting. The Pope also stated that we need less masculinity in the church. And so I can kind of see his perspective of where he's coming from. But at the same time, what's your take on that? And then what do Christians need to do, like such as yourself, especially the Orthodox Church? What do they need to do to convince people to come back to Christianity?
Okay, so as a disclaimer, so you understand, I am not a Orthodox apologist, nor am I a person who runs a channel which revolves around apologetics and a ministry. I'm an entertainer and I'm a debater. Though this message comes through, it does seem to pique people's interest into Orthodoxy. That's not actually the intent of the channel, though I am glad that that has become a byproduct of it.
Yeah.
When we look at this, these two questions you asked, the first one on Tate making the bold claim that Christianity has become weak. He's right. But unfortunately for that critique, he is just as vulnerable to that criticism as Christians are, as Muslims have their own schisms. They have their own schismatics. They have their own infighting. They have their own, Shias and Sunnis doing each other in. It's not just like there's some clean, unified Muslim front, because there's not. And it is true, I think, that he was able to move a trend of people moving towards the Muslim faith. That was a big win for Muslims in the United States. But ultimately, I think that a lot of those people will process out of that once they realize that what they've been sold is a bill of goods. Ultimately, the Muslim religion itself is antithetical to Christianity and Orthodoxy, and I would never say anything different. Though I have Muslim fans in the audience, they tend to also understand that I'm never going to advocate on behalf of Muslim ideals ever.
Right. And then as far as the second question goes, like, what do I guess the Christian people or influencers of any of that nature, what's the, I guess you could say prescription?
So the nice thing about churches, whether it's Protestant churches, Catholic churches, Orthodox churches, the clergy has limited power in comparison to the flock in this way. The power of the wallet can make changes inside of these churches far quicker than anything else. If you are in the middle class, under middle class, or you're just a person who has a full-time job and you tithe, you have more power over the local church than you can imagine, simply by reducing funds based on poor messaging and letting them know that that's why you're doing so can quickly move the messaging aside into something a little more strong and something that, assists in some kind of pushback. And so I often tell people, like, look, you have more power than you think inside these churches because you have the power of the wallet. And that is what all of them need in order to sustain their messaging. So in a lot of ways, you can basically tell them, oh, you got a rainbow flag on the wall? Nope. No more money here. You've got this? No more money here. Not going to do that, right? So you do have a lot of power there, whether you think you do or not. You really do. And so
Yeah.
if you want to see stronger messaging come out of Christianity, you want to see them become more active in the communities, and engage with the world, including engaging in politics when necessary to protect the faith. You can make those demands known to your pastor, your priest, whatever your clergy is, and whatever your denomination is, and let
Yeah.
them know that you'll back those plays with the power of your wallet. But if it's just this real good, feel good feminist bullshit, they ain't getting a dime.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get you. You know that's an amazing answer. I like that a lot because just similar to what happened when we were talking about Budlight. You know, they literally passed off as Dylan Mulvaney as their spokesperson, and the sales just went so drastically down.
It
I think
destroyed one
till
of the
this
most
day.
popular beer companies on planet Earth, and the destruction continues.
Yeah.
No shock that it was a woman who came up with that marketing plan.
Yes, that's true too.
And it completely decimated that company overnight. It's amazing how quickly you can destroy a brand, just by moving into this kind of horrifying political messaging. I
Mhm.
think it's necessary to. I like that you're drawing the comparison, because you can do that. I remember talking to an Orthodox bishop when I was at Orthodox Montanica, and this question was essentially asked to him: what do you do about weak clergy who demand, at this time there was lockdowns and things like that we can't even talk about on YouTube, but
Mhm.
ones who follow this, what should you do? And he said, you should vote with your feet. Well,
Feet.
why is voting with your feet important? Why is he saying that? What does that mean? What it means is, if you're not there, the money goes away. If you are there, the money stays there. So you really have a lot of power over this incentivization to tell them, like, look, I understand that, maybe you want to try to move into this kind of more sissified version because you think it's more appealing to more people, but that'll actually dry up the reserves to your church, and that's not what you want to do. So you do, and you can collectively talk to other members who are there and tell them, I don't want to give my money if these guys are going to bring in rainbow flags and female clergy and things like that. I think that
Right.
we had better not give them any cash. And collectively, you can definitely change an awful lot of what goes on the ground just by how you tithe.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what, Andrew, I also wanted to do a quick question because I'm kind of curious for your answer. So I hear a lot of people, they talk about the Trinity, and just to give your your take on this, um, I've heard a lot that says if you don't believe in the Trinity, you're a false Christian or you're a fake Christian or something of that nature. In the Orthodox religion, is that the same case as like the Catholic? I hear this from Catholics, but is that the same case?
Yeah, we're Trinitarians. And so are Catholics. They're Trinitarians as well.
Mm-hmm.
The Trinity is necessary doctrine. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that people who take the Trinity out of the doctrine are basically, at that point, heretical, because they've been corrected. They've been corrected by the oldest church, which exists. They've been corrected by the one true church, which exists
Mm-hmm.
many, many times. And if they still refuse to conform, then that is being heretical.
Okay, right on, right on. I was wondering about that because there's just a lot of like Trinity debates that is going on right now. And like I said, I'm a Protestant. I actually don't believe in the Trinity. Um, Something to change my mind, but yeah, it is something that I have discussed with multiple people. That to me, I just still don't really understand the doctrine of it as of yet, right? But interesting enough,
Give it
Andrew.
time. Many people start as Unitarians and then end up at the feet of the Orthodox Church as well. The thing is that there's a long form kind of teleology and grounding here that you need to go through in order to understand the Trinity inside of Christianity, because it can be very confusing. But
Yeah.
I would highly recommend a conversation with Father Deacon Ananias. He can explain it. He's an Orthodox philosopher and
Mhm.
also a deacon in the Orthodox Church. You can also talk to Jay Dyer. He does a call-in show, and he would happily tangle with you. Understand that will be a debate,
Right.
but debate is good. That's a good way for you to get your ideas and your thoughts in order.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the recommendation, Andrew. So I'll definitely do that. Oh, by the way, Andrew, by the way, your TikTok invasions that you do every so often are some of the best content that I've seen you produce out. And to be honest, man, when you go onto these streams and just totally annihilate these liberals, I wanted to ask, like, how, because you're still fairly new, Andrew. Like, I barely heard about you about 4 or 5 months ago, and I'm just wondering, how did you even get involved with this space? How did you enter this? And how did you become a skilled debater in the way you are? Like, this is just insane. You just came out of nowhere to me.
To you, yeah, that's true. But I've actually been around in this sphere for almost 3 years. So we started on Facebook, and I came across a group of liberals and started trashing them on Facebook inside of their lives. From there, that turned into a YouTube channel, and I started taking on large leftist debaters like Destiny, Vosh, people like this. People probably never even seen those debates, but they were pretty brutal even then. Moving forward from there, I've taken on almost, I can't really think of too many, but almost every single major progressive personality which exists on YouTube and Twitch, I've destroyed at some point or another. This would include Twitch superstars like Dylan Burns and others who I've just completely eviscerated.
Yeah.
But because YouTube was not fond of us, they tried to stomp us down the algorithm. When we started branching into arguing with degenerate red pill scumbags as much as we would argue with feminist lunatics and progressive scumbags, we entered into this sphere as well and started wrecking basically everything in our path. But that was always part of what was planned for the Crucible, was that we were always going to go into the spaces where the degens were and start wrecking them. And we did that successfully. We did that against John Anthony, Lifestyles, against many people who exist in that space. And then, of course, we got a large break with Whatever, Fresh and Fit, many of these large shows. But interestingly enough, many of these people already knew who I was because they had seen debates of me tangling with these leftists in the past.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, because I think by the time I discovered you, you were around like 20K subs. And at the moment, you're going to hit 71, bro.
Yeah. Well, we had always been on the incline, and the Crucible always had huge amounts of engagement for the size of its channel. So it was not uncommon for us, even at 20,000 subs, to have, somewhere around 600 or 700 live viewers, depending on the types of things that we were doing. Yeah. Of course, now if we're doing a major debate, it used to be that we would get maybe 1.92K, and now it's more like 6,000 to 7,000 live if we're doing a live debate. So, it's all been part of a grind. And yes, I definitely hit a publicity tour. That was part of all the travel time on behalf of the Crucible in order to bring people over to the content here. But along the way, we were able to make friends with a lot of guys inside of that space because they saw me as being very good faith against their message. Yes, I would resist it. I would argue with it. I would tangle with it. Myron Gaines actually gave me a great compliment in a Twitter space. I believe it was last night. It was sent over to me just an hour before I came on. But he said, by bar none, he believed I was the best debater on YouTube, period. I thought that was a hell of a compliment. But he also went on from there to explain that he liked debating with me. And that's where the key comes in, is that these people actually enjoy this type of discourse and kind of the brutal back and forth that they don't get from the average lunatic on the internet. Yeah. Even Lauren Chen, who I just recently tangled with, I think that we were able to see mostly eye to eye by the end of the debate. And so whatever beef existed there is now dissipated. And I'm sure that we can have more productive and brutal conversations in the future, and there'll be no offense taken. And that's part of the process, I think.
Yeah, no, 100%. And now that we're on the debating topic, obviously I'm carrying a channel, and I have other gentlemen with me that kind of jump in there and do debates as well.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen your channel before. Where are those guys?
They're watching right now. They're watching right now. I usually like to put them on, but a lot of them are around the world. Like Alex is in Asia. I have several other guys that are in the UK. So the time frame is like really off.
Yeah, Alex is a good kid.
Yeah, he's cool, man. He's cool. I mean, Yeah, Alex is awesome, man. But yeah, like what I was saying before, I wanted to ask you, like, what would be your, well, one, are you ever gonna do like, pay for my course about debating or something like that, or writing a book? I don't know. And
That's the
then
one
two,
thing, because we have been inundated with hundreds upon hundreds of requests from various creators. So I've always had this policy at the Crucible
uh-huh,
of it was the one thing that I took away from Destiny that I actually liked about the guy, that I respected, was that he would allow small creators, even if they disagreed with him, to come on and tangle with him, or he would just let small creators come on who were, kind of adjacent to his side of the message, so that they could get a little bit of play to their channel, because it is very difficult, as you know, when you're starting out on YouTube,
yeah,
to get any traction. I'm sure that you know that. You know what I
yes,
mean?
definitely,
It's very difficult to do. You only have the time you have. I'm sure you work a full-time job.
yes,
And then by the time you're done working, you're working again. And, sometimes you'll get a little bit of a break and then feel like you're sliding backwards. It can really be a pain in the ass. Like, I understand that. So we implemented a policy early on that smaller creators who wanted to come on and have a conversation and get their channel in front of thousands upon thousands of people, that we would try to emulate that for the kind of right wing of or the right side of
right,
the spectrum. So we've always done that.
yeah,
But when it comes to how much we've been inundated by requests for some kind of like overview of perhaps debate modules or something like this, we definitely have to release them, because there's just been hundreds and hundreds of people have requested it. And I think it's because they understand that it can really help with channel growth if they are skilled at rhetoric and can go up against people who are trying to defy their messaging. And it does. So I think it
yeah,
is a worthwhile investment for people to do if they want to do that. I've always been very cautious about charging for people for anything absent just pure entertainment. So even our merch store, we do sell merchandise out of the merch store, but what happens is I use all of the cash from that to give merch away. So
okay.
that's essentially
Is,
what we do.
is that what you do with the pizza party stream that you did?
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll usually run a stream beforehand, and we'll collect
Yeah,
money for the pizza party, and then the next day we buy people pizza. I mean,
dude, that's
that's
fucking cool.
yeah, it is.
That's
I mean, it's
awesome.
something. It's a way that we give back. We're gonna actually run, because we missed our 50K pizza party. We're gonna do a 75K pizza party instead and combine the two. So we
Yeah,
usually run them about 4 hours. This time we'll run an 8 hour one, and it'll be a
nice.
combination. But yeah, so we'll probably give away, 1,000 or $1,500 of pizza. We'll combine both of them together, and kind of the rules are like, if you make us laugh, because it's a very guest heavy stream,
Yeah,
we're going to order you a pizza. So we essentially just send you the cash for the pizza. All you have to do is snap a pic,
yeah.
without, you don't even have to have your face in it, of your pizza and your 6-pack. We always give you enough for pizza and beer, because I don't feel like it's good enough to just have pizza. You have to have beer with it.
Yeah, you got to have beer with it.
Yeah. So
100%.
I've always been very cautious about, about doing anything like that, because I do see that there's a huge grift element inside of this sphere, and that people do tend to package their fame by taking advantage of people. In this case, though, I do think that I can offer significant value with debate modules, and I am going to charge for them. But, other than that, I really did not have any intention of doing so. Other than entertaining or entertainment, which is what I am as an entertainer,
Yeah.
I feel like putting out a great show that people enjoy watching. If they want to donate to it, I think that that's fine.
Right on, right on. And Andrew, I know we just hit the 1 hour mark, but before I let you go, I just wanted to have.
Well, it's your time, man. I don't have any place to be.
Okay.
You can take as much time as you need. I set the time aside for you.
Oh, thank you so much, Andrew. Okay, awesome, awesome. I was thinking that maybe I'm in a rush here, but okay. I want to ask you this question here. Obviously, back in 2016, Donald Trump got elected as president, and during that time, around 2017 or so, I remember I used to wear. I don't know if you saw those videos of like people wearing MAGA hats getting abused and sometimes physically hit during that time. Well, I live in a society where it's like 90% Hispanic. I'm an Hispanic guy. And I used to wear the MAGA hat in bars, etc. I almost got attacked about 2 or 3 times when I was over there. Now, to be fair, yes, I was wearing that. There was some Bernie bros there that I kind of combated with because of the hat. And it did get frustrating there. I understand that. But it's funny to me that the whole phenomenon of Donald Trump happened during this time. I wanted to ask you, what made Donald Trump so attractive to so many people, in your opinion, going forward? And then now, of course, that we're running in 2024, it kind of feels like that MAGA base stayed with him in a way.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
I just gave you a 5-minute timeout, Layman. Don't spam my fucking chat. Don't spam my chat. Ever. Nothing pisses me off faster. Anyway, so back to this. By the way, do you mind if as we go, it seems like there's some people who are sending in some super chats who want to ask you a few questions.
Please do,
if that's okay. $20 comes in from John, who says, "What's up, Crucible? Sorry I'm late. Just got here. Let's start off with a joke. I can always tell when I see a real woman just by what they wear. Biological women don't wear condoms." So what a terrible fucking joke, dude.
No, that's a pretty funny joke, Andrew. What are you talking about?
Terrible fucking joke. All right. So if you guys have questions for Jake while we're on, you can send them in. I highly recommend. Is your channel monetized, by the way?
It is monetized, but I don't do super chats. Like I don't have enough.
Well, my suggestion, Crucible crew, go over there and send some super chats in if you have questions. That way he can collect the cash for it. He was kind enough to let us on tonight to speak with him and his audience. So anyway, back to your question. Go ahead, man.
Oh, yeah. So the thing is, the phenomenon that was Donald Trump led to a lot of situations of violence. I experienced that as well. I got called coconut. I got called a race traitor, a shill for white people. I mean, it was just, at the time, it was just hilarious. I didn't really give a shit. But to ask you the question, what was it about Donald Trump that really made people, regardless of their skin color, support this man? And then even till 2024, he's being prosecuted, and he's still, I feel like he's just as popular, the most popular president and the most hated president simultaneously. Because
he was a populist. And a populist is a person who is going to do what the actual popular will of the people is. And the majority of the United States, including the Hispanics in the United States, do not like illegal immigration. They wanted a wall. They wanted illegal immigrants thrown out. I'm sure that you're probably one such person.
100%.
Right? It doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, right? You consider your homeland, and you do not want invaders in your homeland. And that's how they're perceived. Trump, as Michael Moore, a famous fat liberal scumbag, pointed out, Trump is a hand grenade for the establishment. And we, the people, threw him in. That was what he was there to do. We did not have great expectations that Trump was going to shake the entire system down to the ground. We could only hope. The whole goal of sending Trump in there was to basically fuck as much up as he possibly could. That was the goal. And it was a way for the working class man who overwhelmingly supported Trump to give these politicians on Capitol Hill a proverbial right hook across the jaw and tell them, stop fucking us over, you sons of bitches. We hate your guts. And so we're doing everything we can to throw a monkey wrench in this establishment, even if it's to our own detriment, so that you understand that we're sick of your shit. That's what the Trump phenomenon tapped into.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I totally get you there. And it's funny, Andrew, like when Donald Trump tweets, and I read his tweets, I just always crack up. I mean, this guy not only has that phenomenon, he's also just relatable to the average Joe, like myself. You know, he doesn't speak politically correct all the time. The whole grab him by the pussy I thought was hilarious, but I understood the context of why he, you know, the conversation that he was having like 15 years ago or whatever. And it's funny because now that they're kind of doing 91 indictments on 4 cases, etc. Let me ask you this. Is Donald Trump going to be running for president in a jail cell now? Like, are they going to succeed by stopping this man?
I can't get into that on YouTube.
Oh, fair enough, Andrew. Fair enough. I'm going to ask you off stream later, though, because I'm really curious on that. Okay, fair enough. Let me ask you this. now that Donald Trump is obviously the phenomenon of Donald Trump 2024, the Biden administration is obviously just, if you can talk about the bill that recently passed by, what's your take on the Republicans kind of supporting that bill, as well as Republicans? Not only that, Donald Trump has also passed similar bills of what I like to call the hate speech bills. So has Ron DeSantis, and people like Tim Scott have supported that. Could you give me a little bit of take on that?
I can't get into that on YouTube either.
Okay, fair enough, Andrew. Fair enough. Okay,
smaller, so that you understand.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a channel your size, you can kind of get away with talking about that kind of stuff. I can't give you what my actual takes are on this platform, unfortunately, especially when it comes to the most recent bill. And I have a lot to say about it, but it would not be pertinent for me to do that on the channel. Let's just put it that way. It would not be pertinent.
Would you ever do a Rumble only stream for those?
Yeah, a lot of people have requested that I do a political only Rumble stream.
Yeah, that would be great.
We're going to set one up soon.
Yes, because I would love to hear your takes and kind of do reaction. Again, my channel's small, so I can get it. You're right, I can get away with a lot of this shit, so I don't really mind it at all. But yeah,
but we have 1.7 thousand live viewers right this second, so you can imagine not all of them like me very much and would love to try to take a take like that and do not good things to me with it and clip it out of context, this type of thing. So sorry, I can't get into those specific issues on this platform. Dr. Tetanus says for $5, Jake, I've been dying to ask, where do you get your ideas from?
Where do I get my ideas from? That's an interesting question. Like growing up, I was always familiar with Christianity. I actually grew up Jehovah's Witness, not really, but my parents were Jehovah's Witness. But I have catered more towards Christianity as I got older.
These guys all want to go over there and send you super chats, but they say that you don't have them turned on.
I don't, because I never thought I would be able to use it, Andrew. You know, I never asked for money.
You're setting yourself up for failure.
That's
ripped, rich, and rare. How are you going to be ripped, rich, and rare? How are you going to get rich if you don't enable super chats, son?
Good point, Andrew.
Snap it to a Slim Jim.
Yeah. Macho Man Randy Savage. And I need to take that advice, Andrew. Now that you told me this, I need to activate that, but I don't ever ask for money. But I do get a lot of my ideas from, I guess you could say human psychology, on how people think of things, biology, as well as the Bible. And I always kind of feel when it comes to psychology, biology, and even the Bible, it all backs up Christian views. And I think that's and even politics, to be honest, has always kind of catered towards Christianity, that I kind of feel like everything that I see in that nature gravitates towards there is a God. And
do you know why you think that? You think that because well, there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. Politics is downwind of culture, but what's culture downwind of?
Culture's downwind of?
Yeah, what is culture downwind of? What informs culture?
Mainstream media influence, I guess?
Theology informs culture.
Okay.
So theology is always the grounding for culture, and then what the culture is informs the political opinions of that culture. That's why the fight, when you get into the actual epistemology, and that's why the fight when you get into the actual groundwork, is actually a spiritual war. It transcends just a political fight, just a political shit fight over differentiating opinions. It's actually spiritual combat on a national scale. And I think people can feel that, even if they don't want to admit it.
Yeah, no, 100% true, Andrew. And it's crazy because when the whole, the Transformers things went on,
the Decepticons?
The Decepticons, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice, what's that demon's name? Baphomet?
Baphomet?
Yeah, half man, half woman, half beast. And we even see a movement in that LGBTQ that's pushing like furries, that little kids are believing themselves to be cats and dogs. And it's gotten so crazy that, to me, it's just, it reflects a lot of the biblical stories. And so I've grown more and more towards the Bible. But at the end of the day, yes, I do still.
We just got to get you out of your dumbass Unitarian stance and you'll be all set. $5 comes in. All Andrew's mods are angels, except one I know who you're talking about. That's the best mod. That's the best mod we have. I don't know what you're talking about. Steven Carrera, $5 says, also, Trump did not follow what is referred to as the project for the New American Century, authored by Robert Kagan and William Crystal. That's true. He did not follow the project for New America. That's a good point. Pat Stedman says, James Sexton on Matt Walsh, a sign that Big Con finally gets they cannot just ignore or mischaracterize red pill adjacent talking points. Great work on debating Lauren Chen. Appreciate that very much. Very kind of you. FB says, Andrew, next time when they ask everyone to rate themselves on whatever, are you going to rate yourself a Mississippi 6? I think that I wasn't going to, but now I'm going to. That just sounds awesome.
Yeah.
You know, well, I mean, I'll rate myself a Mississippi 7 because I'll shave my arms that night.
There you go, Andrew.
So, anyway, back to you, man. Sorry.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned. Fuck. What else was I going to ask you?
We were talking about politics being downwind of culture and culture being downwind of theology.
Yeah.
Also, Daniel Zan says for $5, Jake, come on, bro. You're not a real smoker. You smoke like a 1920s woman. Oh Get your God. Super chat on. I subbed, liked, and went to send some SIG money, and I can't.
I told you, bro, I'm gonna have that up after the stream. I promise you, bro. I promise you. But nevertheless, yeah, that will happen. What was the fucking?
By the way, I've seen some panels on your show. I enjoy watching them. Really? They're long form, so I'm not able to watch the whole thing. You should put some timestamps down, because it would be nice for me to click through, because I've seen some of your streams are like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
And so if there's a timestamp down there that I can just click so I can get to, the things there that interest me, I think that would help you out.
Yeah, 100%. I'll definitely take that in consideration. It's funny, Andrew, because running a channel, I'm my own producer. I make my own thumbnails. I do all the editing myself, and then full-time job.
Yeah, I did all that too. I was working 65 hours a week.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah,
so yeah, I'll definitely do that. Thank you for that.
You have to be up at 2 a.m. every morning. That's the recipe for success. Fuck.
But Andrew, you wake up and you play video games, bro.
With my daughter, I do it all the time. Yeah,
there you go. Which,
it's actually one of my favorite things to do is to eat a breakfast of bacon, eggs, and sausage, and then play video games with my kids. I enjoy doing it quite a bit. And who else really likes that? Them.
Yeah.
By the time your kids are 18 years old, you will have spent 95% of all the time you'll ever spend with them. So you don't have a long window.
Yeah.
And it's like, so take advantage of it while you do have it. The Smoking Patriot says, here's the SIG money I was going to send to Jake if he had a super chat button.
Okay. I'm really getting trashed in your comment section about the super chat button. Okay, I get it.
They're Andrew, not thrilled with you, bro.
You brought this on right here. Yeah, I know. Okay, I'm gonna activate that. But I appreciate you shouting out the channel, 100%. Andrew, I went through all the questions, to be honest, that I had for you. But before I let you go, and thank you so much for showcasing me on your channel. I really do appreciate that. I wanted to do a quick Ride the Lightning round with you, man.
Okay, let's do it.
I hope you can hear that. And quick.
That's a great Metallica song.
Yeah, Ride the Lightning. Yeah, I got that influence from Jesse Lee Peterson, how he likes to put people on the hot seat real quick. But we can just answer just a couple questions real quick and see where you come from here. Now, you did mention you're a guitar player, so let's start it off this way. Who's the better guitar player, Randy Rhoads or Eddie Van Halen?
Randy Rhoads.
Who wins in a fight, Batman versus Captain America?
Batman always wins every fight. Prep time, baby.
Prep time, bro. Okay, who's your favorite WWE wrestler?
I don't watch wrestling
at all. What's your favorite anime?
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Nice. Okay. What's worse, abortion or slavery?
Abortion.
There you go. If a liberal woman screams in the woods because Donald Trump won the 2024 election, but no one's around to hear it, did that liberal ever make a sound?
I sure hope so.
And you don't have to answer this, but here's a fun one. Is Big Mama Michelle Obama really a man?
Yes.
Oh, man. I'm surprised you answered that, Andrew. I thought you were going to say, I can't do that on the stream, but I appreciate that a lot. But Andrew, thanks so much for having me on there. And don't worry about it. I'm not going to, what'd you call that? Backbite you or some shit like that?
Backbiters, yeah.
Yeah, backbiters, whatever the fuck.
I have them on my show on Tuesday, and by Wednesday, they're making hit pieces about me.
And dude, it's funny because I saw your last stream where you had that black guy, the Orthodox. Was he Orthodox?
No.
I caught the end of it. Okay.
No, he was a Unitarian like you.
Oh, okay, fair enough. There you go. But it's funny because
so stop it, Jake. Stop it. I want to like you, Jake. Don't do this to me.
Bro, the nearest Orthodox church is an hour away. I'm trying my best, Andrew. You did
nearest Orthodox church to me is an hour away. I still go.
Fair enough. Fair enough. How many times a month do you go?
I try to make it at least twice a month.
Okay, I'm gonna shoot out that goal for myself then. If you're doing twice a month, I could do twice.
I mean, we go more usually, but at least at a minimum, I try to go to liturgy at least twice a month. But there's all sorts of other events which go on there that we try to make it to as well. So
yeah, and it's funny because in my community, it's mostly Catholics, so I can see a bunch of Catholics and Protestant churches. But even the Protestant churches don't really catch too much of my attention. But I am willing to give that a chance, and you're part of that reason, as well as Mari Emmanuel, who I think is a very smart man that I've been watching as well. So I enjoy his content. But anyways, Andrew, thanks so much for having me. I'll let you go right now. I already ran out of the questions, and I hope to do this again sometime. I really enjoyed this conversation, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. There's a guy you might enjoy going on some of his panels. He was with me over on Fresh and Fit. The creator's name is Made by Jim Bob. Yeah, he does a panel show. It's quite good. It's literally just called The Mixed Bag. But there's all sorts of mix between religion, culture, and everything else in between that he does. And they're free flow conversations. They're not designed to be debates as much as they are hangouts with opinions. And it seems like you kind of have something similar going on in your channel, so you might fit right in. I'd reach out to him. I'll put in a word.
Yeah, thanks so much, Andrew. Yeah, I'll definitely reach out to him on Twitter. Appreciate that, Andrew.
Yep. All right. Well, have a good day, man.
Have a good one, Andrew. Thanks so much.
No problem. Take care.